A woman sits in Buckingham Palace now who is a war criminal. She's a fake monarch and she knows it. She always has, so has the whole family. The part of the family that did help me in living and help my father, King Edward VIII, who was accused of crimes and behavior he didn't commit. A double married Wallis Simpson and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. He was buried at Windsor Castle in 1972. My father, actually, his identity was stolen. He was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor. She was Queen of England. You got the Church of England, the Cosmos Lang that was a part of the takedown of my father. My mom was school teacher, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. So you have the Archbishop of Canterbury that's part of it. You got Winston Churchill that burned the Windsor files, my birth and my dad's marriage to my mom. My father was removed illegally. He wouldn't go along and take orders for the Illuminati. He had integrity. Something I don't think Elizabeth and that group of hers have any idea the meaning of it. They've always known about me, all of it. My kidnapping in 41 at age 2, I was born in 39, and my uncle George, her father, who became the illegal George VI when he helped take down his own brother and kidnap me, helped the Illuminati, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. Joseph Kennedy was appointed ambassador to England in 36, the year that my grandfather died, George V. My father became king. How ironic, and then they kicked him out in 46. JFK, the son, actually helped in my kidnapping and bringing me to Moulton, Alabama, where my identity was stolen and I was given the name Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. Peggy was a twin to Carl, and both were killed by the Dempseys by Lina, their mother. They were born out of wedlock. So I'm going to go from there. The crimes committed are horrible that happened to me on a moment daily basis, like making me run across coals of fire that were just gotten out of the stove, and I was made to run across it, and I thought I would die. All I could remember was screaming, and Jean did that. And if she sees this, they all knew about the cover-up, my real name, and watched the abuse and watched what happened later. And I'm just giving you a segment out of my growing up. My husband's name, as far as I know, is John Childers. And he was supposed to marry me, I know now. And he worked for the space industry, drafting, buying, Lockheed, Marietta. But we knew people that ended up being very wealthy. Maybe I shouldn't even put this up again. The Epps, they owned spacecraft. I think it's spacecraft. Let me rephrase that. I'm not sure of the name of it. Maybe more than one. I forgot who owned spacecraft, but this was back in the days when it was beginning, and this is where I was taken nearby there, and when I was kidnapped. That's where Moulton is, and Werner von Braun, a great man, was brought over, and some German scientists. And the Americans gloat because they've never had to. They can just keep on putting me down and doing things to me, and anybody could have gone. They knew who I am, my kidnapping, before I did. I do remember in 1983. So I guess this sounds redundant, and there's some things that I'm afraid to put up, but this, because of the law, and the people don't care about me. And my God, when you can have the Queen of England, and I was the day I was born, that's why they had to kidnap me then. They got rid of my father. with character assassination, which was a lie. He was married to my mom. He didn't abdicate to Mary Wallace. She married an imposter, one of the imposters. And all of this has been known. The press has covered it up because the Illuminati controls it. And they're the ones kidnapped me and took down my father. So it was all lies. They took my father down. He's married to an American. Now they've got an American film star. She's biracial, and that's a plus now for her. And let's see, I think she's divorced. I'm trying to show the way that they treated my father. He married a school teacher, my mom, an American, which you don't even hear about. They've destroyed all the records and everything. Her pictures had her dying in 1984. No, was it 84? Yeah, and I was out there. She had a home in Bel Air, and I was in a political campaign in 83, and that's right after then I learned of my kidnapping. And I could remember. Oh, yes, you can remember. And I thought it was odd. Here my mom had a home in Bel Air, and St. Cloud is where Larry Flint lived. That's where I was taken in the campaign because he'd been shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, when I was doing a medical malpractice book about mind control and programming people to commit crimes. And they're victims themselves. They don't even know it's being done to them. And you can cure an illness or create one, like cancer. Here you've got all these campaigns to help find cures, and they've already had it since the Tesla files, or before, I don't know, in 1930. King Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were shot by a program shooter way back before 1930. Anyway, I'm getting away from, and I'm not sure I want to put it up right now. It's been such a horror story because people here have stood by as a whole and helped do it, and didn't want me to say one word about it. So therefore, then I must have enjoyed all that was done. Anyway, Meghan Markle is being called the American princess. Her wedding dress has skyrocketed. She's going to have her father and mother there at the wedding. My father couldn't even get close to me, and my father probably, they had him so tied up and penniless. My mother still had money, I think. The O'Keeffes did. My father and mother couldn't get near me. I will say this, that I was allowed to see my mom. Actually, it was 3 times, if you call a glimpse of her, in the situation I was in when I came to Roanoke in October of 86. And on the bus up here, there was a British lady, and it ended up, we rode on the bus, just the 2 of us. Everybody else was off. And she was the one that, she's wearing a pair of pants that it was pants I had worn, so they had gotten it somehow. Those pants had a string, and you couldn't put that string in those pants, and that you just couldn't. So they were the pants I'd worn. She was eating a biscuit and an onion. I grew up, I was lucky to have a biscuit. An onion. I love onions. She came up and sat by me, and she told me, she said that my father was still alive. And she didn't mention my mom. But anyway, when I had to get off to get a ticket to Roanoke, my job had been gotten to again. I had no money, no place to go. Yet I'd always had a divorce decree from my husband that was back in the early 70s. And it would have given me alimony and child support. Well, all that got taken away when I tried to have it enforced to be off the street. And my ex-husband then was, supposedly he was my ex-husband. He married Twyla Pollard, and she's over in Mississippi now. She got the life insurance that was the court. My husband was the one that dictated this when he came up when we were divorced. And he dictated it to my attorney that anything he had or would ever have would be half mine. And whether he remarried or I remarried. So there was an addendum to the divorce, and that was part of it, making sure everything was mine. I didn't get anything. I was supposed to get alimony and child support. Obviously, I never got anything. Instead, I got almost killed again, April Fool Day of '80, after doing a medical malpractice book about mind control murders, about doctors. Larry McDonald, congressman doctor, went down in the plane. I ran in that special election. Larry flew me out to his home in '83. And a bunch of doctors got into it. I'm confused as to where, because there's another side of something here that I can't tell. My ex-husband, as I knew him, after the antifreeze had been put in me, I thought he was on my side. And I had a letter from the FBI, and it was June the 23rd of '79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And this is April Fool Day. I had gone out to John's sister in Abilene, and I was told by him, I was told, called her, and it was okay for me to come out. And I was trying to get my children away from Atlanta. I thought if I did, and just forget about the book or whatever, or things would get better. And I called Laura Childers Klein. She lives, I can't remember the name of the town. It starts with a L, outside Austin, Texas. Now, it has for a long, long time. Anyway, I called her, and it was okay. Yes, please, you can come out and stay for a couple of weeks, and if you get a job, we'll help you get the boys out here. Well, I didn't have much money. I left, and there was never any misunderstanding about my apartment. It was leased by me in my name, my security deposit. And about 2 months after then, I signed it May of '79. My ex-husband went up to the office with me, and I told the manager, and he was there, that I'd gotten a letter from the FBI, and that I'd written the book. And I know now she already knew. This was already set up. My husband's sitting there, ex-husband, and he sitting there, and he's just going to come back a few days out of the month, and because the kids were having sugar put in the lifters of the car was going out 11, 12 o'clock at night. Scott was locked out of his car in freezing weather. All kinds of stuff was happening to my children. They were using my children and me. Anyway, when I got to Mesquite, Texas, outside Dallas, I called Laura the next morning because I hadn't slept. I'd driven and just parked in those rest areas from Atlanta to Mesquite, and I stayed one night in the Days Inn. And I called Laura the next morning. I said, I'm on my way. Be a couple of hours. And she said, well, you're no longer welcome. Well, it shocked me. I had to go back. I had enough money to get back. When I got back, I had no apartment. This manager had, she had told me, by the way, in front of John when I was sitting there asking if it was okay for him to come back a few nights out of the month. But I know now she knew all of this. And anyway, when I got back, I had no apartment. John had moved, my ex had moved my furniture into another apartment. In this few days I was gone, another apartment within the same complex, and she had allowed him to sign a new lease, use my deposit. I no longer had anything, not a key or anything. And that was the middle of March when I came back. Well, I don't know, maybe I've forgotten the exact date. But things were so bad at that new apartment, and I no longer had an apartment, furniture, or anything. And I guess long story short, I had was almost killed April Fool Day. I left, stayed with a friend that night, and she helped do it. And her sister worked for doctors there, the Phillips in Marietta. And I went to the emergency room, West Paces Ferry, where Dr. Chelton wasn't even supposed to be the doctor there, to get a tox screen to see what they'd given me, because I knew I was a goner. And it's what they put in me. But no tox screen was done. This is a hospital where you are supposed to be able to leave. And I'm being redundant here. To make a long story short, they would say I could have left, which is a lie, certainly under the condition, and I tried. Oh, and in the condition I was in, oh wow, didn't even have money for the phone. You had to have a quarter for the phone back then. And I'd have one of them come up if I tried to make a call out. I think I got a hold of a quarter at one time, but it was hell in there. And they told me if I tried to leave, they'd get a male intern to hold me down and feed me intravenously. You should know what they were putting in me. So it was a horror story. No, none of the tests were done. The tox wasn't. I was illegally taken across the state line, and the doctors involved have never been. They've gone on living a good life. Beecham, Paul Beecham's still in practice there in Marietta. Gonzalez, all of them, they got involved. Dr. Hardiman was a doctor at Piedmont, where Larry McDonald, I wrote about, he went down the plane, and I was in that special election. Congressman Doctor. At Piedmont, that's where the murders of Warren and Rosina Matthews, forensic pathologist, happened. And I'd written about that, and Jean Srokerman was shot Christmas Eve, I think 76. That's where Hardiman, she was working for him. You get all these connections. Dr. Hardiman, psychiatrist. Was Hardiman a psychiatrist? Yeah. Yeah, he was. Okay, the connection is Carol Johnson, a beautiful lady, but she left me when she said, I can't let another doctor or hospital administrator get my job and take it from me, so I can't help you anymore. And it was right then the antifreeze was put in me. April Fool Day is a joke. You can kidnap the monarch. You can do everything to my sons. And this is America. God bless America. Make a long story short, I'm telling Carol about this. She's interested in the book that I'm doing also. And she's a good lady, but she let me down, just like everybody else was afraid of it. And Hardiman, my ex-husband, before this happened, April the 1st, I think it was, or maybe, because he came over a few times, but, I mean, he was threatening me. My God, he didn't help me then. He took my apartment, and his sister helped him. Anyway, let me jump to this. I got out. Got out. It was a horror. None of the tests, nothing. A British lady saved my life. She was the head nurse. I'm going to skip to where they shoved me in a car. Lina Dempsey suddenly had come over there when I had the antifreeze put in me. Through all this, she didn't have the money, supposedly, to... Anyway, they stuffed me in the car, and I was brought back to Huntsville. And I'm going to leave out where I was on Easter. Passover, and then Saturday, and then Easter, the 6th of April of 1980. Finally, on the 9th,